The more I read the Gospels, the more I'm amazed at the frequency of the stories Jesus told. You see, truth isn't simplistic just because it's communicated in a simple way. A student told me about one of our teachers at one of our area Bible studies, and she said, I can tell this teacher really cares about us because she always tells stories and she uses illustrations to make sure we understand her point. That's care. Another real practical idea under answering the questions, do you care about me, is to give hope. Give hope. Let kids know that they can do it, that they can make it, that God's not finished with them. Quote Philippians 1:6, he who began a good work in you will continue it until it is finished. When Jesus Christ comes again, I am sure of that. Let them know that they're part of that journey and that you'll be there to walk them along that journey with them. That's pathos. I care about you. And lastly, the logos. Do you know what you're talking about? Here's a couple real practical ideas. One is to invite Q&A. Invite questions and answers. This is the number one way to communicate. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not afraid of your questions. Go. Let me hear them. And I've seen notes and heard enough youth workers teaching to know that we're trying to get too much material into our messages. We need to back off the content a little bit. Oftentimes in youth ministry, less is more. Don't try to give the students an entire systematic theology class in 20 minutes. Maybe put some more thought and time into question and answer and discussion, and any form of interaction like that is usually a healthier way to teach, where students are going to walk away with more application. And actually, the word application leads me to another real practical point under logos. Do you know what you're talking about? Think application. Think application. This shows you know what you're talking about. You're not just spitting out information, but you've thought about how they might be able to apply what you just taught them into their real life at school tomorrow. Give them action steps. Here's how you might apply this. That communicates, I know what I'm talking about. I think the one story that I read in a book several years ago called Mind Changers that really helped me understand communication was a story about a dog that was sick, and the veterinarian said that the dog needed cod liver oil, and after getting some cod liver oil, he would feel much better. So the owner of the dog took the cod liver oil and poured it into a spoon and tried to jam it down the dog's mouth, but the dog rejected it, and day after day. And this guy that was trying to feed his dog got so mad and angry that the dog wasn't going to take it and the dog was going to die that he took the bottle of cod liver oil and threw it on the ground. And when the bottle broke open, the dog went over and licked up the oil. And the point of the story was not that the dog didn't want the cod liver oil. The dog just didn't like the way he was being fed it. He didn't like the application. You see, in youth ministry, I really believe that we have answers. We have truth. We have good things to say, but we've got to figure out how to give it to students, how to communicate it. We've got to be asking the questions, who am I talking to? What are the emotional questions that are going on in their lives? And how can I show them love so they can learn better? You see, one of the elements I appreciate about communication is that there's always something more to learn. Although I've been teaching students for almost 20 years, I'm always watching and listening and learning how I can become a more effective communicator. When people ask how to improve their teaching skills, I suggest they find someone to watch and learn from and practice by teaching yourself. You will become a better teacher the more you teach. But the real secret to effective teaching, so students will listen, is to work on your own life. So you become the type of person students want to listen to. I've watched students give a lot of grace to an average teacher who is incredibly lovable, and I've also seen students give no grace to an incredible teacher who wasn't lovable. And so let me close by telling you what does and doesn't impress me about teachers. What doesn't impress me is when I hear someone say, I love to teach. That's not impressive. What impresses me is when I hear someone say, I love my students. You see, that's a sign of a great teacher. Well, thanks for listening. May God richly bless you as you continue the incredible task of teaching God's unchanging truth to a changing student culture. Thanks for being the type of leader who learns and loves students and, most importantly, loves God.